Revenue is the holy grail for mobile. For app developers around the world, there are things that we can do right now that can actually drive better revenue. It is partly about what your app does, it is partly about who you're targeting in your audience, but I guess you could say that there are natural ways to actually generate revenue while somebody has the app in front of you, and that is all user experience and user interface design. And we have here today, we're going to be exploring these four major ways of generating income, the four top ways of generating income in the mobile world, and the UI UX tweaks that we can make, you can make every day in order to be able to drive more revenue through the apps that are already installed on devices. You put a lot of money into building it, you put a lot of money into marketing. Now let's put a little bit of effort into actually making money from the apps. Joining me to discuss all four business models is Scott Plews, who is the VP of User Experience Design at Macadamian here in my hometown, Ottawa. Scott, welcome. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem, Rob. It's great. I always love having conversations with you.
Well, this is going to be great. For those people who don't know about Macadamian, do you have a the elevator pitch about who Macadamian is before we can get into the meat of this?
Sure. Macadamian is a software design and development company based in Ottawa. As you said, our headquarters are in Ottawa, but we've office in California too, in Eastern Europe. And essentially, if you're a company that creates mobile apps, for instance, and you need anything from the initial design ideas through to actually getting it at the door, we can provide those services.
Well, I love it. I love the fact that you're in Ottawa. I love that you're a big company doing this for a lot of bigger companies, which is really cool. And you've learned some great lessons, and that's what we're going to dive into. So the business models we're going to be covering here are freemium, which everybody seems to know. It's the most popular way of generating an income, or at least in theory, the most popular way of generating an income. Advertising. Could be banner ads, could be something else we'll discuss. Premium apps, which are the ones that you actually pay for. And of course, the data that we all collect from this and how to monetize on the data side and generate income from that. So we're going to dive into this. The very first one, which is freemium. This is used by what? Probably 100%, at least 100% of all the people that are out there building applications look at freemium and say, well, that's the easy way to do it. I'll give away an application for free, and then I'm going to turn on hooks inside of the application, rewards, hooks that will actually drive revenue. People will pay in these microtransactions. This is a very popular business model, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the challenge with it is you're giving away your app for free. So that, you're not off, in some ways, you're off to a tough start. I think that, there's a number of keys to success here, but I think the big thing is what you're giving away for free has to have a fantastic user experience and great value. As much as you want to get the money the next round, what your users and customers and so forth care about are in fact what they're getting for free. And even in super successful freemium apps, most people aren't paying.
Yeah, there's a very, very, very small conversion rate. Like one of the most successful freemium apps, if you use an example, is Evernote. And they talk about having 100 million plus users and a 3.5% conversion rate. That means they have 100 million active users and only 3.5 million of them are actually paying.
And Evernote's a fantastic example because they've really, they understand the model, and they talk about this quite openly. It's a numbers game, like you said. They've got so many people using it for free. Well, 3.5% doesn't sound like much. 3.5% of 100 million sounds like an awful lot, and it is an awful lot. And they understand that it's getting that initial value and the hooks, and then some people are going to love it enough to go to the next level.
And that is one of the key points here, is that you cannot have a product that is hampered or hindered or ruins the experience or doesn't demonstrate the true value that the product will actually give the user. If you do that, if you handicap it in any way, people will just abandon it, right?
Well, absolutely, and think, to stick with the Evernote example, they have a good search, right, in the free model, and it's enticing you to find the documents you need and allowing you to do that, and you say, hey, this is a great value, and then there's the hook, right? So I like using search. Search is helpful for me. But what if I could search within documents? A small percentage of people are going to go, wow, I really need that for my job, for what I do, for my lifestyle, whatever it is. And then they're in, and it's a seamless transition. It's not, I'm selling you something new. I'm selling you something enhanced, which is just an expanded version of what you're already doing. So it's a great example of how you entice someone and capitalize on those hooks, like you mentioned.
So I guess the first step in leveraging freemium to generate revenue is to, aside from the obvious, which is build a great product, right?
Yeah.
But is build something of use that people will come back to every single day, or once or twice or 3 times a week. We hear so many vanity metrics that are out there around how many downloads the app has had, but what we should be focusing on is really very, very targeted effort on how many times people use it. Average daily use, average weekly use, average monthly use, whatever is best for your business. But that's where we should be focusing on, not on the metric of downloads, right?
Absolutely. I mean, usage in the end, usage is all that matters. You can I mean, a lot of things are download. In fact, it's a huge number. And you might know the percentage. I can't remember off the top, but there's a lot of stuff that's just downloaded and open once, and that's it.
Yes.
Right. And
it's
so
over 90% of the applications in the world. Yeah.
Right. And so you could be enormously successful by having all these people download, but if you don't have that great user experience, if you don't have something that people care enough to use and come back to and see the value, then you're dead in the water. And to your point, it's not only about the fact that, hey, I can use it, I can see how I could use it more. And there's the freemium model to the upgrade. Hey, I could see how I could extend what I'm already doing to just do more of it, or differently, or in a complementary way, or something like that. I mean, Dropbox is a great, super simple example. I just need more stuff. Right?
Yeah.
What could be, my Dropbox cabinet's not big enough, essentially. What could be a simpler model than I get what Dropbox is, and now that I get to, that I need to drop more stuff in my box.
Well, and it is often that simple. And I think that there's two currencies we're working with here. There's the currency of the user's time, which in a freemium model is very important, right? So that's the initial sell, is to make it a part of their pattern, of their habits, of their day, or of their week, depending. And then the second one is those important hooks, as you said, that allow the user willingly to pay you, right? You never want to force people to pay you on anything. You never want to do it too soon or too late. There's a natural balance of use and then somebody's willingness to pay. But once the first step is getting them to use it, and then the second step is getting them to pay. So what are some ways that we can make that conversion, that close that gap between use and pay?
Well, so I think the main ones that we've already talked about, right? The big conversion, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, you said it in a way. The conversion is that you don't even feel like it's a conversion, right?
Yeah.
You're just extending what you're already doing. And I think that's the biggest key. Introducing a new feature and saying, hey, isn't it great, is so much harder than saying, why don't we build upon what you're already doing? Right? Because I don't really have to, again, going back to Dropbox and Evernote, I really don't have to think very hard to imagine what value you're adding, right? I'm already putting stuff in my Dropbox, so now I can put more. I'm already searching, now I can search more, right? So the conversion almost just becomes, oh, it's the thing I fill in a field so I can just keep going with my task, right? It's so simple, and there's really almost no selling. It's so much pull from the user because they're looking for it. Quite frankly, you're a success when they're saying, could I get more search? Could I get more capacity? Rather than you're selling to them.
It's always an interesting balance. I find it's, you've got to be able to find that sweet spot, right, where there is very low friction and a willingness to just say yes to buying. My guess is that it comes from quite a bit of research and analytics. It's customers asking you, whenever you have a huge customer base, it's customers asking you for deeper search, for example, or OCR, right, optical character recognition in terms of Evernote. But it's also about the way that pricing, right, is the balance between that the painful price, right, which we all have a threshold of pain when it comes to price, like, ooh, I'm never going to pay that. No matter what
Yeah,
what I can't pay that. But there's like that's why games at 99 cents work, and that's
yeah,
why add-ons and virtual goods at that price range works. And it's interesting with with Evernote is that they pay on a yearly basis, and it
yeah,
seems so insignificant, $40 a year, right?
yeah.
That's got to be part of the strategy for converting.
Yeah, and again, it's a numbers game. I mean, $40 a year isn't much, but when you have 3.5 million people, it's pretty good,
Yeah, it's a good
right?
business. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think, and you've made this point before when we've chatted, the kind of mental threshold for mobility that anything is set pretty low. Right. We just don't, it's not like the mindset we had when you and I went and bought box software. Remember that? When that existed.
I'm not that old. I'm not that
Yeah.
old, Scott. I don't remember those days.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah. So,
$60 for a game and $200 for Microsoft
yeah, I
Office.
mean,
Yeah,
imagine what you paid for Office, and you just can't imagine that now, right? And well, you can't imagine getting it in a box. That's tough. But yeah, and in mobility, that model just doesn't exist. It's the click for free, or a quick little seamless, download or upgrade or whatever you want to call it.
easy transaction. What about the things that people shouldn't be doing? Like we see these. Why don't people convert, and what can we do to avoid the challenge of avoid mistakes that will push them right out?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things, of course, is you still need to make, once they want to buy, you need to make that buying pretty simple. You have to just design, and honestly, now we know how to make buying online, whether it's mobile or a smartphone, tablet, website. You should be able to design that pretty well. That's been designed enough, but you still see things that are onerous. People make mistakes. They don't get feedback when something's correct. You got to go get some obscure number that you don't know what it is don't make it painful for them. They want to give you their money, right? But abandonment rates are still atrociously high on websites and other places where you do the buying experience. So once you've got them, if you've got the value proposition, which is really what we've been talking about before, okay, I've got the value proposition. Now make my experience of buying simple. If you already have my credit card number and account, don't ask for it again. Pre-fill my fields. All that simple stuff we know, right? Just execute on it.
And so just make this a seamless one button, kind of one click, if coin the Amazon term, one click opportunity to actually buy from you. And I mean, is there an opportune time? Do you promote things? How do you make sure that people know that there's a for pay version if they're staying in the freemium side?
Well, so it's interesting. So one thing, I don't think you don't do it in the middle of when they're doing something else, right? The worst thing you could do in user experiences design is I'm in the middle of a task, and it's basically, imagine you're in the middle of taking money out of your bank and someone walks in front of you and says, "Do you want some new bank services?" No, I want to finish getting the money out of my bank, then tell me about it. So don't stick it in the middle. And you still see that. Amazingly, people interrupt advertise in the middle of tasks. The other thing is, often it's such, when you get big communities, the communities advertise for you, right? That people know about, if you look at Evernote, they hide almost their premium, right? It's up there somewhere in the corner saying, "Hey, you can get premium," because they're trusting the experience, trusting the fact it's word of mouth, and no doubt there is times where they advertise it explicitly, but it's pretty subtle. Right. If you're super successful, people will find out, and we do have all the nature of social and so forth that helps out with this. So if there's one thing I think that's important that when you're running your business, is that this app is part of your business, right? So you're probably, I mean, you look at a bank, for instance, that gives away the app. But that's because the service is a necessary part of the business to entice people in other ways to get money. So you may be giving a pure free app, and it may make total sense for it to be free because what you're actually doing is pulling people in with that app. The Krispy Kreme example is our favorite one. We've talked about this, where they gave away a free app that tells when the donuts are coming out, and you can figure out, hey, I'm only half a mile away from a hot donut. it's because they sell donuts. The app is just like a billboard that's moving with you in front of you saying, hey, turn here. So it's okay to just have free sometimes. Sometimes you don't have to convert in a software sense. You convert in some other service. They go buy donuts.
That is a very important, observation. Simply because freemium could be the mobile piece of this is it could be just the front end to your actual business, right? So it's a way to entice, attract new customers, bring new revenue into your existing business through the mobile channel, and that means free is always the app, and mium is your actual business, right?
Yeah. And there are companies that put in huge back end systems into companies that are millions and millions of dollars. And basically, you know what? The app is free. The mobile app, they'll design it, give it away for free because it's just a way to entice companies to buy all the back end stuff where they make the money.
Very important lessons here, so that freemium can be literally converting in digital in the app like Evernote. It can mean converting exactly as we talked about just a second ago, which is from the application into additional services, hardware sales, software sales, services sales like a bank or Krispy Kreme. But the important thing is understanding what deserves to be on the front end in free and what needs to be on the back end with a service charge or a fee. But there is opportunity out there in order to be able to drive more revenue through freemium if it's done right.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm even feeling like a Krispy Kreme donut right now just talking about it. They're really effective, those guys.